What up, everybody? Welcome back. It's a beautiful morning. It's going to be 60 degrees today, and we've been tinkering around with the Mustang, getting some stuff sorted out on it. I decided to get the old BK in here. Spring's right around the corner, and this thing's still got a blown head gasket. So we're going to get into tearing this thing apart today, and hopefully not have any problems. With my luck, we'll have every problem under the sun. Getting into tearing this thing apart and get down to this head gasket, and hopefully find out that is just bad head gasket. I partially feel like these Chinese head studs might be biting me in the butt, or it may be these heads, because whenever I went together with this aluminum 4.8 from the old aluminum 5.3 that was in the truck, I did not surface these heads. I'm pretty sure I just cleaned them up and put them back on with a new head gasket, because I don't think I did. I think I just cleaned them up and put them on the engine. So this side of the cylinder head had blew a gasket before, so I may end up having to run down the street and try and get this head just skimmed, and then clean it up and put it back on with a new head gasket. We got a new L-ring 7-layer small bore head gasket for it. So we're going to get into ripping this thing apart. This intake manifold setup is a lot nicer to pull apart than the old one. The old one was like big and bulky, and God forbid you ever had to put a water pump on it, you'd have to destroy this engine just to get it apart. I really want to get this new head gasket put on so we can test out this new 76 millimeter. Everything I've seen about this 76, like, this thing's a bad unit. I've seen guys make over 1,000 horsepower on this thing. I don't plan on making that much power with this truck, mainly because the converter, the JEGS XHD converter, is probably only rated for like 850. So we're going to walk that fine line of not having a good converter in here. One thing with this new turbo, I kind of felt like the amount of boost I was running through this thing before, the truck was slower than it should have been. So I believe that was a back pressure issue. And now with this new turbo, I think we're going to hopefully not have back pressure issues like we did before. The one time I test drove it, not changing the wastegate spring or anything, just putting this turbo on, it actually made like 5 more pounds of boost on the same wastegate spring. So that just goes to tell me that there's not as much back pressure, and that the spring probably needs to be changed in this. So we are going to probably end up jacking this up and pulling the wastegate off of it and trying to change the spring out on that just to be safe. And I've got some VS springs in the truck that we can change out. So anyways, let's get into tearing this thing apart. All right, so we got the intake and stuff off. Still got to drain the antifreeze out of it before we get the cylinder head off over here. Got to get the steam ports and stuff unbolted, and then we can get the exhaust manifold off, and then just go through and start pulling this head off. One thing I noticed is I didn't copper spray these. You can look at all the water on the front of this. So this thing was getting a bunch of cooling or pressure in the cooling system and kept just blowing it out the cap of the radiator. So I'm hoping that it's just this side. I guess we'll know once we get this all put back together and then we test the truck again and it still does it, then we'll know. The previous 5.3, when I tore it apart, it had a bunch of bent rods in it because it had the not so good Gen 4 rods in it. Most people probably don't know there's a difference, but there are 2 different Gen 4 rods. One are not very good and one is the better set. Yeah, I can't remember which gaskets. I don't think I had 7 layers on it then. I just had the normal 3-layer gaskets. but I can't remember if it blown it on one side or the other. I'll have to go back and look at the video. Cross, it's just this driver's side one. If I get into a position where I've got to pull this passenger side cylinder head off, honestly, I'll probably just pull the engine out of it, because dealing with the exhaust manifold and the turbo on that side of the truck, it sucks. It's not fun at all. So I may end up just, if that's the case, I'll end up pulling the motor out of it. I've got the little backup iron 4/8 that I need to put together, so it may end up just going in here, and then this one will get fixed or whatever the case may be. But anyways, I'm gonna go eat some lunch, and we'll get back out here and get this cylinder head ripped off and see what the cylinder head looks like, or see what the gasket looks like. We're sitting here, and I was hopeful that, well, we're sitting here, and here you can see the head gasket pushed out of the side of the block there, and you can see a little spot on that tab right there. Right here, you can see like some discoloration on there. That's where it's pushing exhaust gas out of there. Obviously, there's a little bit more material here, so it's harder to actually like physically blow it out like this one here was. I mean, that one's clearly blown out. You can see where there's like some coolant seeping out on the cylinder head surface. And it's funny because you'll look, and like usually where it blows out is right underneath the spark plug, obviously. But underneath this spark plug, you can see where it's starting to push out right there. And then this one back here, let's see if I can get the light right there underneath the spark plug. You see it's starting to push the gasket out there. And I thought I probably ought to look at the other cylinder head. And it's really hard to look on here, but right back here underneath this spark plug here, see if I can get my flashlight there. You can just barely see where it's starting to push the gasket out underneath the spark plug there. So I was hoping to only have to do one head gasket. I've actually only got one head gasket, so I'm gonna have to order another one and probably another set of head studs, which I've actually got some head bolts. I might just put head bolts in this damn thing, piss on it. Yeah, so I guess I better get to it. This isn't gonna get done today. All right, so we got the one head off, and I'm sitting here knocking things over, and gasket's pretty marred up. It's actually like the worst thing I think I've ever seen. I've never seen anything quite like this. Like, look at this like bubble in the gasket. Look at that. And then like the steam holes here, like it blew through them. I've never seen that before. Can you see that? That's freaking insane. See if I can get this thing off without cutting my fingers off. Because I tell you what, these head gaskets are sharp, fellers. I mean sharp. I'm about to lose the dowel pin over here. Let's show you the head. So I remember putting these back on and remember them being cracked between the seats. Oh, they got water on it. You can see there's some cracks between the seats. But yeah, you can definitely see where it was blown into the water ports. So, not good, fellers. Not good at all. These things are roached. So, I've got another set of heads that I'm not a huge fan of. I may end up just throwing them on here and just saying piss on it. They're ones I was going to put on this backup motor I've got in the shop. They are clean. I lapped in the valves. They're not very nice by any means. But in all reality, like, these things are probably roached too. So I may just throw them on here and say piss on it. And I've got some normal head gaskets, and maybe I'll just throw some normal head gaskets on it. And I've got head bolts instead of head studs. I've got some Jegs head bolts, so maybe we'll throw those in it too. And if it doesn't live, then we'll just pull this motor out and start over with the other 4.8. So yeah. All right, so we got both heads off the truck, and I wasn't going to take the passenger side head off of it, but the more I got to looking at it, I decided, you know what, I probably need to pull this thing off and just get them both skimmed and just start fresh with new gaskets on both sides and whatnot. But let me just show you kind of where we're at. So we got both the heads off, and I've already got the deck surface and stuff Scotch-Brighted up and cleaned up on both sides. And I'll show you the gaskets from these. But the deck seems pretty good. When you look at the gasket, you can actually see where it was blowing out, and then they were both blown on the head surface side rather than the block side. So I showed you this one here, and you can see it was pretty marred up in a lot of spots where it was blowing in. The cooling system was bubbling up the gasket. I've never seen one this bad. It was pretty cool. And then like it blew through the steam ports there, or that little hole in the ports. Didn't blow through the back ones, but the front ones, you can see where it was pushing water there, or pushing into the cooling system there and there and there. But this side was pretty bad on both sides. You can see it there externally, there, a little bit there as well. And then the passenger side one, you can see it there, and this is head surface side. And it bubbled it up a little bit, but not as bad as the other one. But then the other side, the deck surface side, looks nice and good. It's not really messed up there. But I've got new gaskets on the way. I've actually got one gasket in stock from LS Acceleration. So a small bore BTR. I got a second one coming because I was initially only going to do the one side. But then I opted to just say piss on it and do both of them. But I took them over, got them dropped off from my buddy at the machine shop. He's going to skim them for me. And I kind of contemplated on putting, I've got some Jegs head bolts. I thought about just throwing head bolts in it. And then I didn't want to buy another set of the white box Chinese $40 head studs. So a buddy of mine down the road actually had a set of lightly used. They actually only got torqued down on a motor. And while he was torquing it down, it ended up pulling the threads out of like 3 holes in the block. So he pulled them out and then had to drill the block for 1/2-inch head studs. So these actually never got cycled or anything. They just got torqued down once and then he pulled them right back out. But these are 0.1s. They're a local place, actually. They're here in Rogersville, Missouri. So local place. This will be the first time I've used any of their stuff. And the quality of the bolts, the washers, the nuts, everything looks really good. So we're going to give those a shot with new gaskets and then a new head surface. So hopefully that will fix our issue here. All right, so we're back out here and we got some parts in the mail today. I've been starting to order a bunch of parts from this company and I really like them. I've dealt with them in the past over some little stuff here and there, but they seem to have a ton of stuff and their prices are really good. And it doesn't take me very long to get my stuff. So we ordered some stuff from LS Acceleration. I've ordered some stuff from them in the past and had really good luck with them. But here recently, I've just been ordering pretty much everything from them. We've got we got stickers, of course. We got our other small bore head gasket to go with the one we've got in the cabinet. All right, so now we got both our gaskets. We can get heads put back on this thing. I got some bearings I ordered for our little backup 5.3 motor we're gonna build. More stickers. And then this is what I was really waiting on. So I had one of these at my old shop and I've been needing it for a while and I just had to break down and buy it because I got tired of trying to run up there to do it. Basically, to put the crank reluctor in the right spot, you need one of these tools. And it slides on the back of the crank. You heat it up, put it on there, and then there's a pin there that slides into the back of the crank. Anyways, that's what we got in the mail today. So now we can get into putting these heads back on. I went and got the heads picked up from my buddy at the machine shop. So I'll get these copper sprayed and we'll get these put down on the motor. I already got the deck surfaces and everything cleaned up. So I'm gonna double check all my head studs, make sure all those are tight, and we'll go ahead and start getting these heads put back on the motor. All right, guys, so we got the BK all put back together. I'll probably go ahead and put the drag wheels back on it, and that way when we go out and test drive it, we'll have a decent tire underneath of it, because I changed the wastegate spring in it. For whatever reason, when I vacuum tested the wastegate, I had my little Duralast vacuum tester here, and with the old turbo, this thing would only make like 11 pounds on the gate, which was fine. But then when I put this new turbo on, it made like 16 and hit boost cut. So it kind of startled me. Obviously, there's some back pressure concerns there with the old turbo versus this one. But once I put pressure to it, like I got it up to like 20 pounds and it wouldn't even crack the valve open. So I ended up pulling the spring out of it, which the spring, based on Tile's chart, says it was like a 10-pound spring, but that was not a 10-pound spring. So I went through and put a couple springs in there and vacuum tested it, and it was like 13 pounds, which will be plenty for the street. And then that way I can turn the boost controller and all that stuff off, and 13 pounds, it ought to make some decent power. But so we got that changed out and whatnot. But yeah, well, this stuff will come in tomorrow. We'll try and get that buttoned up and get the wheels swapped out. And if the weather's decent, maybe we can take it for a cruise. See what this new turbo does and see what it does with the tire underneath of it. All right, guys, so we got the boost knuckle back together. We got the wheels swapped out on it, but we got everything back together on the truck. We haven't been able to drive it. It's been raining a lot here, so the roads have been pretty wet. And as you know, these tires on wet asphalt, not a good idea. I also realized that I don't currently have brake lights on this thing, so I got to figure that out. So we're going to have to figure out some wiring. Maybe it's just a popped fuse or something, but I didn't really have time to get into that. Anyways, that's going to do for today's video. Super pumped that we got the truck put back together. And hopefully we can get this thing out here in the next month or so when the racetracks start to open and the weather comes around. So thanks for watching, guys. Keep following along. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Why are you going to cry? You hear them dogs? What are they doing? Oh, you hear them too? What do you hear? Huh? You going to get them? Moose, come here. Why you went? You're the bad girl. Yeah, you so bad. Yeah. Darn dog. Hey, dude. Why are you eating sticks? Quit.